You're listening to a Brother Asks and Building Better Builders video education series production.
Welcome to Phoenix Masonry Live.
A show about Masonic museum artifacts,
Interviews,
Masonic history,
and much more.
I am Frederic L. Milliken, Executive Director of Phoenix Masonry.
And I am Elana Llamas, Director of Public Relations for Phoenix Masonry.
And we are here to
celebrate
our Freemasonry.
Celebrando nuestra francmasonería.
And we are welcoming to our interview today, Coach Dr. John Nagy. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you for having me, Fred and Elena.
And
Thank you very much for coming.
And what we do here is we celebrate our Freemasonry. And we are celebrating today with Dr. John Nagy. Brother John Nagy is a 32nd degree Mason, lodge musician. Matter of fact, he plays a lot of instruments: the Irish whistle, drums, keyboard, sax, clarinet, tuba. My goodness. He's also the 2014 recipient of the 2014 Dwayne E. Anderson Award for Excellence in Masonic Education, and Masonic education provided to lodges that support his efforts to share.
He is also the author of the Building Better Builders series of uncommon Masonic education books. We want to apologize to our audience in case you hear audio difficulties. This is the first time we are going live, as our name indicates, and we are having a little bit of trouble with Frederick's audio, which, if you can forgive us this time, we will take care of all these difficulties, which we never had before. So going back into the coach's work, his books are Building Hiram, Building Boaz, Building Athens, Building Janus, Building Prepence, Building Ruffish, Building Cement, Building Freemen, and the Craft Unmasked, The Uncommon Origins of Freemasonry and Its Practice, which is the book we will be focusing on today. He also wrote the Journeyman papers, his videos, and his Uncommon Masonic Education workshop cover aspects of Masonry designed to build better builders.
Professionally, John is a multi-degree professional business and life coach, technical advisor, trainer, lecturer, speaker, and writer who provides coaching, management, and technical support to business professionals worldwide. He has been in the coaching field since 1989, running his own coaching practice since that time.
Coach Nagy is also a state-certified country mediator in Florida. He mediates court-ordered cases part-time in the 13th Judicial Circuit of Hillsborough County.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff, Coach Nagy.
Thank you.
I'd like to start you off with a off-the-cuff question before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
And it seems to us that early on in your Masonic career, Coach Nagy, you took on the burden of enlightening brothers in the craft. Was there something that induced you to do so?
I came in wanting something, I guess, that I wasn't going to receive, and I started doing some research. And as I was doing research on different things, I started sharing them with my brothers in lodge. My lodge brothers encouraged me to do papers on this, and so I expanded the effort. And after I had several papers written, they said, well, what we'd like to do is see that in a book. And I eventually wrote Building Hiram in an effort to consolidate a lot of the research that I was sharing in the lodge. It got out of hand. What can I say? It grew into quite a big effort, and I've got quite a few books still in the works that are all things that I'm doing research on. curiosities that I wanted to know more about, and I start sharing with my brothers, and they want me to basically put it in writing so they can keep it keepsake. And so the
Excellent.
publishing effort is a way of taking what it is that I've done for myself and sharing it with the brothers that are asking for it.
So it sounds like you have no plans of slowing down. You're going to keep bringing books to Masonry.
God willing, it will continue. Yes.
Excellent.
So that leads us right into, asking you, Coach, why you are a Mason.
Well, I think you can tell from the books that I put out that I enjoy building. But I think what you're really asking me is, why did I join the Freemasonic Society and continue to be a Freemason, right?
Exactly.
Well, I enjoyed the fellowship. I enjoyed what it is that I heard about it. I also joined believing that it would assist me in becoming a better man, which I believe it has. As far as remaining with it, through my association, I continue to find gems that add tremendous value to who it is that I am and what it is that I do as a man.
Excellent. So you truly have exemplified applying the Masonic values and lessons into your own personal experience as a human being, as a man.
Yeah, I very much like to think that I've incorporated the teachings into my everyday thinking, my everyday feeling, and doings, plans, what have you.
So
my interactions with my brothers and even my family members in business.
Excellent, excellent. So it's I like to compare this to the depending on one's religion, that there's a what would Jesus do, and I've also seen what would Buddha do. So you kind of go, what would that ideal Mason do in your daily life? It's the sense that I'm getting from what you're saying.
What would Hiram do?
There we go.
So we need, I think, at this point, Coach, to try to differentiate Masonry from Freemasonry, because that's a big point you make.
Well, you did catch that in the very beginning, and I'm glad that you did. I draw a distinction to help clarify the difference between the organizational work that is we are asked to do as Freemasons and the personal work that the ritual actually directs us to.
So
why is that so important?
Well, when you don't draw a distinction, you don't know the difference, and it can easily get swept away in the mechanics of running the gym when all that you really originally joined for is wanting a good workout.
Enjoy the gym and a workout. Would you explain that to our viewers, the difference between Freemasonry and Masonry?
Sure, I'd love to. And thanks for asking. It's truly crucial to know the difference and at least draw the distinction when you want to get more out of your involvement other than just attending meetings. Now, let me go back to the analogy of the gym. Freemasonry is the running of the gym. Masonry is the actual workout.
The actual workout. Okay, I need to get a little bit more about that.
Oh, you're drawing me in here. Okay, Freemasonry is about the organization and its membership. Freemasonry focuses upon maintaining order. It does this through organizational hierarchy, the laws, the rules, traditions, etiquette, regulations, standards, processes, training, fundraisers. It has to focus on maintaining the organizational lore also, and that has to do with who's who, biographies of past Masons and present Masons, stories, ritual, lectures, and even the history that is handed down. Furthermore, it focuses on membership. This has to do with attendance, attrition, discipline, funerals, dues, and also learning the lexicon so we can speak the language, understand the symbols, and basically follow the scripts and the choreography. Freemasonry, in essence, is taking a suitable prospect, a man, and integrating him into that house not made by hand, also known as the Brotherhood, so that he can function very, very well within it and support the organization until he no longer can do so. It's all about making good members better members. Masonry is a different beast. It's all about, and let me personalize this, making a good man into a much better man. It focuses upon moving him from youth to age. at least the ritual points us to. It focuses upon proving what the man already has, on building him up, augmenting him where he's lacking. Masonry, in essence, focuses upon taking him off his mother's breast and preparing him to face the world as a man.
Are you saying something like, I'm going to use another metaphor here just to wrap it up, see if I got this. You're saying Freemasonry is the institution, let's say a bakery, and it concerns itself with keeping it clean and making sure the dishes are clean and getting the ingredients to bake. And Masonry is the act of baking. It's the actual processes that go in there, the bringing out the results, the cakes. Is that kind of what you're saying here?
I'll go much deeper. It's investing in creating the bakers, making the bakers the best that they could possibly be.
Exactly.
It's not about the food. It's not about the product. It's about the individuals, transforming them into individuals who can't mix, can't boil water, to tremendous chefs.
That's an excellent distinction, because you have the Freemasons that are doing the masonry, and you have the results, the bettering of humanity, the charities, you have all of that. But the focus is not straight to the results and the charities. Ideally, as you explained, it's really on building the characters. And those are the side effects, which are very important, or the ultimate goal is to create better builders, like you, in your terms, which creates a better world, because you have better men in it, right?
Well, that's the idea. You start out with the building blocks of society, and if you improve the building blocks, you're going to build a better society. However, if you're, I'm getting the echo again. Oh, there it goes. Yes. Where was I? If you focus just on improving society without improving the things that actually make up society, you're putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly.
But let me get back to your first question. I admit that there was a whole bunch of curiosity too when I was joining. All that ooh-ah mystery and hush-hush secrets that were whispered here and there, they did play into my, let me join this and see what's offered interest. There was always some sort of intrigue that was being dangled in front of me, and it caught my attention.
Did you get any of that?
No, none. Zippo.
Well, what did you get?
Well, after I got through the first 3 degrees, I found several things.
And they were?
I'm glad you asked. The first thing I found out was that I had cultivated some very valuable relationships. I like this. As a man, I find developing trusting relationship with other good men important, and joining and going through the degrees gave me ample opportunity to do just this.
And what else, maybe? Did you find something else?
Yeah. Maps.
Maps?
Yes, maps.
What kind of maps?
Maps that showed me the landscape of a man's life, in personal, my life.
Well, I hate to ask this, because the last time I asked it, I got a whole 10 minutes. But please expand on this.
Thank you. I can do that. Let's focus on the entered apprentice degree.
Okay.
When you look at the whole of the degree, its structure, its symbols, its words, its allusions, it clearly reveals specific landmarks that a person must approach and deal with effectively on the roadmap from youth to adulthood.
Give us an example, Coach.
Well, the overall commitment to one's improvement, improving oneself toward adulthood is the key.
Improving what?
Well, improving one's morality, priorities, choices, decisions, time management, emotions management, standards, boundaries, impulse control, and critical thinking, to name just a few.
Excellent.
The degree is really ripe with activities that can be engaged in to improve and mature the self. And I can't stress this strongly enough, or even often enough, when one actually does the work required. It doesn't happen just by being exposed to the degree. You've actually got to do what the degree states. Follow that map.
Well, Coach, I don't want to worry you, or we do apologize to our audience very much. Your camera, we can hear you fine, Coach. We cannot see you when you speak.
When I speak?
Yes, just in case you can adjust that quickly for us. And you meant,
can you see me now?
No, I will let you know if you come on. And while you do that, I do want to mention that Frederic and the coach have collaborated numerous times on various articles, and Frederic has reviewed books for the coach many times as part of Phoenix Masonry, and we will be linking the articles on this video below, and so that if you're interested in the Building Better Builders series to see more about it, and the coach's blog, which we will get to shortly, or read the book reviews that Fred has done of the coach in the past. We will link those below. We can see you. We can see you clearly now. Yes. It's all fixed. This is our first time live, and who knows, it may be our last time after all of this that we are encountering today. And we do thank you very much to the audience. We are a new show. We appreciate your patience with us. We are really trying. We are, as all of Masonry, we don't have a ginormous budget, so we do we do the best we can. We're all sitting in our private offices here. We don't have technical assistants. We are the technical assistants, so thank you. And so please go on.
Rewind. You said we don't have a large budget. I wasn't informed we had a budget at all. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to get back to this now. There was more to this morality and stuff. There's some more stuff here, I think, isn't it, Coach?
Yeah. Let me give you a bundle. All the working tools of the Fellowcraft are internalized for future use by the actual work that the apprentice degree directs people to, not the degree itself, but doing the actual work.
Do I dare ask for more?
Yes,
give me more.
Dare ask. Fred, by doing the work that the degree actually alludes to, you have all the qualities of each working tool internalized by the person doing the work, and they become actually a part of the individual. You can't help but manifest them if you do the work.
Okay, they become a part of me. Which are? What?
Okay. But by doing the work alluded to within the actual entered apprentice degree, you become an upright plumb and act according to specific upright standards. You also become square and act moral and virtuous. And of course, the last working tool of the Fellowcraft is you become level. You actually act fair and balanced in dealing with not only yourself, but others as you approach life and business and in personal life. Each is an exemplification of the Fellowcraft working tools. Each becomes a part of you. Each is manifested through who you become.
This reminds me of the concept of first being made a Mason in one's heart. There are a lot of Masons, we can all agree, I am sure, Coach, if you agree with me, that are Masons at heart yet have not joined the Freemasonic Society. And
okay, let me expand on this. Elena, you said something and you stated a paraphrase. However, we are not first made a Mason in our heart. We are prepared to be made a Mason in our heart. And a lot of people believe earnestly that happens before you join. However, I'm going to throw a twist in here, and this is typical Coach Nagy. The EA work is heart work, and you must do the heart work in order for you to do the actual Masonry that the Fellowcraft prepares you to do. The heart work is done at the entered apprentice degree, and you are actually made a Mason in your heart during the apprentice degree work. Not the degree itself, but doing the actual work.
Doing the actual work. So if a person is not a Freemason, but has developed these heart qualities in their life, these values, this ethics, yet has not, maybe they have done so because they are very ethical people on their own private life, or because of the influences of other spiritual other spiritual religions and other spiritual currents that maybe influence them to become upright people and moral people and have these standards, do you think they can move along the values without knowing the specific rituals and practices that relate to Masonry? Do you think those qualities are human qualities, in other words, that you can develop aside from?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We do not have a corner on the market. All the things that we do have been consolidated, and a good deal of them have been borrowed from other disciplines. We have just consolidated them and put them into a roadmap that we could follow if we chose to. However, if you don't follow the roadmap, it makes no difference, because basically you're not working on yourself. But it doesn't require becoming a Freemason to work on yourself. Freemasonry just gives you a nice roadmap and a lot of brotherly support to make that happen, should you decide to do the work. However, if you don't decide to do the work, well, then that's another issue.
Right.
So what about the secrets, Coach? Where are the secrets?
What secrets?
You didn't find any secrets when you joined?
I did not find any secrets, and it's a shame that we actually use this word secret to describe things that are simply information we regard as confidential to our organization.
Private.
Yep.
How so, Coach?
Well, this is just an opinion, mind you, one based upon a few years dealing with some very, very hardcore craft zealots, for lack of a better phrase. I think we do a lot far better by having a discussion about integrity of one's word, the benefits of keeping one's word, and what occurs when one is not true to one's word. We need to tell the candidates that they need to know up front that keeping our word by sharing and protecting confidences is an unbelievably valuable discipline that is necessary to life. It reflects maturity and respect, well, rightful respect. It's part of growing up. And by using this word secret, it really takes the education in a whole different direction. There's a reason for confidentiality and keeping it. It's what mature adults do.
I think historically, unfortunately, for Freemasonry, the whole secrecy side, as seen from the general public, has taken a sinister flavor too at times, right? Because it sounds like, well, if it's secret, they're really protecting it and have all these scary oaths. It must be.
It actually had a tremendous backlash during the Morgan Affair incident, and you actually had people running for office on an anti-Masonic platform because there was a lot of assumptions that were made about the organization that were just utterly unfounded. But because the mystique of the way that it's been marketed and what have you, and spoken around in circles, hush hush, they're going to think the worst, particularly if there might be some animosity toward what people wind up getting in their lives as a consequence of just living it rightfully.
Well, while we're talking about secrecy, do you talk about in your work what you do in the Craft Unmasked a little bit in terms of mystery? There's the mystery and the sense of receiving something sacred, so sacred that you have to be properly prepared to receive it, thus it's secret to everybody else, and that sense of the word or the concept. And then there's the secrecy like you described, which is the more unfortunate side. So you do touch upon the mystery, right? And you relate it to the history of the craft guilds. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I do. And if you would like to jump to the outline section on the Craft Unmasked, I'd love to do that.
Okay. Yes. So
let me pull that up on my screen so I know what we're talking about.
Yes, we have prepared an outline like we always do here on the show. The topics that we want to make sure we cover, and so this is one that we want to focus on, which is the coaches. latest
Elena,
book.
how about we come back to the Craft Unmasked a little bit later? Let's talk
Sure.
about those memes that
Yes.
you were asking me about.
Oh, yes, I want to talk about memes. I love your memes. Your memes have been around for a long time. I was a fan of them before I came into contact with you because I like to make memes myself. And so tell us, what's a meme? How do you define it? Tell us a little bit about your meme making.
Well, how do you define it? How do you understand a meme?
Well, that's a good question. I would say a meme, as we are talking about here, would be a graphically designed photograph, in your case, with a stimulating quote from yourself, sometimes quotes from books, with, that it's a stimulating thing. And I'm going to show some examples so people can see what we're talking about. We can see some of your memes. Go on, Coach.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Let me go ahead and give you a working definition, one that I find very useful here.
Okay, I'm sure it's better than mine.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I'm sure it's better than mine.
Okay. Let me give you a working definition. A meme is an element of a culture or a system of behavior that may be considered to be passed on from one individual to another by non-genetic means, especially imitation, emulation, and, wait for it, irritation.
So what's the difference between imitation and emulation?
There's some overlap. The distinction I draw are that the former, the imitation, is superficial and focuses upon mimicry. There is often no end in mind with the copied behavior, idea, or style. However, the latter, the emulation aspect, requires a much deeper understanding of what's behind the behavior, idea, or style. The end in mind is actually kept in mind, and what it actually takes to match or exceed any particular result of that emulation.
So you obviously have been making these for a number of years. Can you give us a ballpark of the number of years you have been at it?
Oh gosh, I'll give you the number of years, and I'll also give you a little bit of a background.
Sure.
What I found is when I created just a thought and threw it out there, that I might get a few likes. But when I actually put the thought in a picture, not only would I get some likes, but that baby would just travel all over the place. And I learned this sometime between 2010 and 2012. It just occurred to me like, holy crow, I need to start putting these words that I have in my mind that are circulating around in there into some sort of interesting picture and just slap it up on Facebook and allow it to migrate in directions that are most infectious. And so long about 2012 is when I started recognizing this, and I've been doing that ever since. I've got thousands of memes now that are posted on Facebook and around the web that are basically designed to help people see things differently, improve their thoughts, their thinking, and perhaps even their behavior. It's all improvement based.
So do you think these are basically an effective way to communicate?
Well, I think they serve their purpose quite effectively.
And do you have any favorite style, any favorite memes?
Let's see. I think, oh gosh, let me do this categorically. I like those memes. The favorites are those that stir the deep pot of discourse and help create eureka moments for those who read them.
Are there any other categories you want to add to this?
There's some memes that reveal and disclose through follow-up responses to them how brothers view and approach the world. Unbelievably revealing. They sure do open the door to discourse and attitudes.
Oh yes, you have a very cutting sense of humor, which shows up in a lot of your memes. And tell us about that. You have a very sharp personality, which I have to say, being familiar with it through your sharp-humored memes, I was suspecting a lot of that in your book, and we will get to the Craft Unmasked shortly. But I can tell you it is not a humorous book, so you definitely have aspects of your work which are very, very different and diverse.
Well, thank you. Gosh, how do I follow that up? I can tell you that there is humor in every last one of my books. Some of it is very, very deeply masked. If you are in on some of the humor and inside story on some of the things that I write, you'll recognize it immediately. However, if you're not back channeling with me, it's going to go right over your head. But my books are filled with memes too, and if they help bring a smile to the face, maybe a tight giggle to the gut, maybe a warm glow of clear, touching understanding to the heart, I've done my job.
Well, you do have this clever smiling mask on your cover, which is familiar to many people through various sources. Perhaps we have it in a movie, Guy Fawkes. We also have the group Anonymous, the hacker group, has used this mask, and we also but it has a unique history. Can you tell us why you chose this mask as for your book? And the book is called The Craft Unmasked.
It is indeed. That particular mask was first used by observers of something called Bonfire Day out in England. And in the later part of the 18th century, that actual mask was used by people to beg for money and food and what have you. And it became known as the Guy Fawkes mask. But, Guy Fawkes is that guy who was part of the conspiracy between the 1605 gunpowder plot. And as far as the use of the mask, I was looking for a very good mask to use for the cover, and one that I wouldn't get any trouble for using, one that was copyright free, so I didn't have any kind of problems there. And I knew that this one had an edgy conspiracy feel associated with it. So, it's a good picture. It was free, had an edgy conspiracy thing associated with it. But in order for me to use it for the book, I had to justify using it because of that conspiracy feel. So basically, I had a chapter in my book addressing Masonic conspiracy issues. And I figured, hey, now it's appropriate to use. And I also think that it adds a little humor to a very, very heavy subject. And some readers have actually told me that it was a perfect fit for what it is that I wrote. It actually, grabbed some attention for sure. But as an aside, I've got to tell you, I can blame it all on a very good brother, fellow writer up in Georgia. He's a friend, and as I was talking with him about the book, he takes me aside and basically says, Brother John, you got to make this book cover sexy. And I'm afraid the Guy Fawkes mask is about as sexy as this book is going to get.
It has been. I remember when I first encountered it. It does hit you. And so the response to the cover by the brothers in general, how's that been?
Very positive. A lot of them giggle at it. There's a few that say, "Oh, why do you do that conspiracy?" Because I get from their heart that they're concerned about Freemasonry being once again associated with a conspiracy. And if my brothers took the time to read the conspiracy chapter, I think they would be coming away not only laughing at all the things that go on behind these conspiracy issues and thoughts and conversations, but to take a really good look at some of the despots and the tyrants who have come into power, who have taken and attacked Freemasonry because it was an easy victim, and because they thought the worst, and we don't deserve it. And that particular chapter does address it very, very clearly. Conspiracies, they're just not there. And actually, there's one conspiracy, but I'll read about it in the book.
And while I have the book here, I want to show this is an autographed copy that you presented to Frederic.
It was an honor to do so.
And then he let me borrow so I could read. And you also have what caught my attention that you have in the first page and then throughout the book is this pigpen Masonic cipher. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, that is a very nice detail. And it's filled with excellent photographs, and you have these lovely small, if you can see, there's a point within a circle, a square and compasses. It's very nicely designed. I can see you have an eye for design, which obviously shows up on your means. It's a very nice, very nicely illustrated book. You also have a blog, the Building Better Builders blog, BBBB. What was the original intent of that blog?
Oh gosh, well, let me go up to my outline so that I
Yeah, sorry. We are very conversational here. I know we jump around all over the place, and this is live, so here we are putting going all over it. You have a lot of aspects of what you do. You blog, you write books, you make memes, you make music, which we will make you play on the show and shortly. And so it's kind of your fault. You have so many topics. We're going off in all directions.
Let's talk about the original intent of the blog. When I wrote the book, Building Hiram, I had a lot of questions, and I was told that I needed to put some sort of blog on there having to do with Building Hiram. And as you can see from the blog, particularly posts that occur following the announcement of Building Hiram and some of the questions, that has clearly gotten out of hand.
How so?
Well, there are some pretty deep articles, some discussing and reframing paradigms long held to be sacrosanct within the organization. There was also a section, a whole bunch of blogs called Brother Asks, which possibly could become a blog into itself, but I kept it within the Building Better Builders blog. Many are put up there simply because they are being asked so often by so many brothers that I've taken time to write out the question and answer so that if there's any brothers who want to take the time to read the Q&A, I find it useful information. And of course, there's also the satirical instruction pieces that I put up, not so much to poke fun at the insanity, but to help temper the insanity with some insights that might not be read about had it not been put in a humorous, tongue-in-cheek fashion. All of this, it has all in all, it has a lot to offer both brothers and profane alike.
So does your experience, we were talking about your diversity of experience and abilities, does your experience being a personal and business coach drive you to search for meaning and derivation of Masonic information and values?
No.
No. Okay, can you explain the no?
I have a passion for light, and that's exactly what drives me to seek meaning. It's also my background. I have engineering and transformational programs, a lot of engineering and transformational program background, and that drives my Masonic interest. I see so much within Freemasonry as transformational. There's an unbelievable amount of transformational-based material sprinkled throughout ritual. And I'm into transformation, especially, of course, building with the engineering, especially toward and for the better. I want to believe that I'm actually helping the world become a better world.
Which is, like we were talking in the beginning, what happens when you build better builders. And so you have your blog, and you also have your book series, the Building Better Builders book series that use the catechism method of teaching, where you have, as I understand it, Q&A, like you were saying. Why did you choose this method?
The method's extremely familiar with brothers, particularly around the circle of brothers that I was entered, past, and raised with. And it's also something that they're very familiar with, and I wanted to be able to help them most. Catechism actually rewires the brain. I don't know if anybody ever talked with you about catechism before, but it actually rewires the brain to seek to ask questions and also to seek to find answers.
That it can rewires the brain. Can you expand on that idea?
Yes, yes. By actually practicing the inquiry and responding, you train the brain to seek and deliver.
To seek and deliver. Is that the question and answer?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. And you call it catechism. This is Masonic catechism, which is part. It is somewhat there in the studies of the degrees. Am I correct? I believe this is so for every type of Masonry out there. They have some study in question and answer format.
Proficiencies within a lot of jurisdictions require you to be able to answer all the questions, and it's basically learning the roadmap of each degree. You go from the very beginning all the way to the end, and you're asked questions. It's a prompting, and it's the best way to describe it, it's very much like a Masonic Roman room. You are given a question and you recognize the question immediately. And because you recognize the question immediately, you know exactly what you must say in response to that question. Mm-hmm. So it's a way of basically training the parietal lobe, which talks about spatial recognition, memorization, and learning the terrain of anything, and that's both internal and external terrains. You actually rewire that section of the brain and make it receptive to actually seeking, or shall I say, traveling. It actually creates a traveling man.
Okay, and that is wonderful. But I see time flying by, and I want to get to something really important here. In fact, I'm not too happy, Coach, because the Craft Unmasked to me seems to be a groundbreaking work, and I don't think people are giving you credit for it. As a matter of fact, I think some of them are snickering in the background. But maybe we can discuss your theory of the origins of modern speculative Freemasonry a bit here.
Okay, where would you like to begin, brother?
Well, you have a stern warning at the beginning of the book, right?
I do.
Okay, so let's start there.
Well, the warning is basically saying if you want to discuss this origins theory, it's best to discuss it with individuals who have taken the time to actually read through the material, the evidence presented, actually go through the information, and at the end, understand how the conclusions were based. And if you wind up talking with an individual who hasn't taken the time to read all the evidence and read how the conclusions were arrived at, you're actually, well, you're gypping yourself of a very rich experience, because the individual just simply will not understand.
I think that's a fair warning, and I have to, if I may add an observation, having read the book just recently for this interview, the coach does have a groundbreaking approach to the origins of a modern speculative Freemasonry. You do find that in the book. However, what you don't find is him going outside the known and accepted and proven historical facts that have led to the origins of speculative Freemasonry. What am I talking about? The coach touches upon specific events and people, most notably in England, that are the known history, the known, accepted, and proven history, but his approach is very different in that he comes from the tradition of theatrical plays, and emphasizes and expands upon the history, a fascinating history, Coach. If you can expand, I'm sure you can explain it better than me. And that is the novelty here. Am I right? I did not find anything in your book that told me, wait a second, this sounds like a completely different place that Freemasonry came from, or people, or events. It's a different aspect of it, or a different emphasis on it. Am I correct?
Well, Elena, the approach that I took was that of a business coach. I evaluated our organization as a business coach. I took a look at what we profess that we do. I took a look at all the material and the history. I took a look at what we actually do and the results that we do, and it just simply didn't match up.
Oh.
And as a result, I wanted to make sure that I didn't write anything in this book that wasn't observation based. I didn't want to write anything in the book that required any reader to suspend disbelief. And so I laid out basically a track. I presented all the information, what it is that we do, what it is that we profess that we do, what it is that original Stonecraft Masons actually did, and how they brought about rearing their young, so to speak. And I compared them. Here's how we rear our young, and here's how they rear their young. Now, you decide, is there an actual match between what it is that they did and what we're doing? And if there is a match, great, show me where it is, because obviously there is no evidence showing that there is an actual match. However, if you take a good look at what we actually do and try to match that up against what has classically been known to be professions in the past, and also take a look at what it is that was going on in and around the premier Grand Lodge, basically announcing its coming into being, you'll notice that there were some professions and things that were going on in Europe that reflect very highly upon what it is that we do as an organization. And so that's how I went about my approach.
And that's brilliant.
I basically observed, I laid out all the evidence. I said, okay, based on the evidence, what is it telling you that we do? And, take those rose-colored Freemasonic glasses off, put a clear glass on, and come at it without any preconceived notions.
That's
and
brilliant.
What is the conclusion that you come to?
But what led you to write this book?
My previous works, Fred, more specifically, Building Freemen.
And why that one? I like that one really well. Why that one?
Well, I like it. I've got some very nice compliments over that one too. In fact, they told me that it was the most intensely footnoted book I have ever written, and they're right. There were pages and pages of endnotes, but it was through that writing that specific book that I realized how much the words that we use within the fraternity don't match the meanings originally used within Stonecraft or even outside Freemasonic lexicon and more.
Stonecraft. You mean operative masonry?
Yes.
How do you mean that? How so?
Well, take for example the word Cowan. We're told through Freemasonic training that Cowans are pretenders to the craft, and that there were never members who were Cowans within operative lodges.
Yes.
This is simply not true. There were members who were Cowans that were part of operative lodges. They served apprenticeships and were paid masters. I wrote about this extensively within chapters 10 in both Building Roughish and Building Cement.
Then why are we told to keep Cowans off?
Yes, thank you. That is a great question. That's the kind of question we ought to be training our brothers to ask. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's get into it.
We need to be focusing upon the symbolic application. In reality, a Cowan is not a pretender. That's the myth created by unknowing Freemasons. A Cowan is a dry docker. A dry docker is a rough mason, as opposed to what we focus upon, which is square masonry. This means that they don't square their work and they don't build with cement. And cement, as you know, is a very important element, building material for Freemasons. It unifies the building into one common mass. That building is our brotherhood. Cowans are not interested in unification. Freemasons are told to not allow them in their lodges because Cowans build without cement. They do not build to unify. They don't square their work, hence what they produce is filled with holes. If you were an informed, masterful square mason, you know something about the tiler's job that he doesn't. You also know that he most likely doesn't know who he is supposed to allow in the lodge and who he's supposed to keep out. The implications of unsquared, uncemented work tells you that what they offer what Cowans offer will eventually produce ununified lodges filled with holes.
Are you talking about the member who is self-interested, or the one who creates a lot of, who is perhaps not ill, maybe they think they are sincere, but they create a lot of disruption? Are you talking about that kind of character?
Elena, remember what I said about the apprentice degree, all that work that basically squares a man?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you are uninterested in squaring your work is you. If you don't do your apprentice work, what you basically do is you move up the chain, but you've never squared your work. Not only that, at the entered apprentice degree level, if you're doing the work of the entered apprentice, what happens is you're developing brotherly love and affection. You are cultivating cement, of which when you are finally passed and raised, you'll have square work as your basis and you'll have plenty of cement to share. However, if you don't do the work of the apprentice degree, what it alludes to, you literally wind up with Calvinistic tendencies. Your work is unsquared and you don't have the love that you could.
Now, I noticed in all that you write, Coach, that you constantly go back to the original meaning of words, and those original meanings have become reinterpreted to new meanings, and as we use them with new meanings, we actually are not describing Freemasonry correctly.
Yes.
What other words did you find that have been changed so much?
Oh, one of the most radically changed words that you will ever come across is that word free. You know, the word free that's associated with free and accepted Masons, free stone, free born, all of them use the word free. And at the time that they were implemented, when they were actually created, the word meant superior, excellent, and pure. And well, it doesn't mean unrestrained or easy to work with or not a slave, respectively. This also applies to the word pair, free space Mason, as opposed to the compound word Freemason. The research that I did on this is all covered in Building Freemen.
You said originally that you like to build. Did you write your books or did you build them?
I'd have to say that I built them.
Why is that?
Well, because every single book started out with a cornerstone, and they were each built upon its cornerstone.
What was the cornerstone then for the Craft Unmasked?
Mastery. The word was mastery. That is the cornerstone. That is the inkling. That is the rabbit that I chased down that rabbit hole like a man with his head set on fire, gnawing his way through a brick wall for a bucket of water.
You do talk about mastery and mystery. Fred, did you want to say something?
I'm getting that echo again. Hello? Better. Okay.
Well, because of the technical difficulties we've had in the show, once again, we're sorry. We're going to keep, if the coach agrees to stay with us, let's say 10 minutes past the hour, because
Sounds
the conversation is good, and this was distracting to everybody. So we'll make it up that way. Thank you, Coach.
What I wanted to say was, it sounded like you were entangled here.
Yes, very much. What I found is that the word mystery actually had a tremendous entanglement with mastery. And what I was originally doing was looking up the word mastery, and I came across the word mystery, and I found that the two words were used interchangeably originally within the first 100 years of them coming into being and in the English language use. They actually didn't, mastery actually denoted the same thing as mystery. It denoted profession and or occupation.
And this is the whole crux of the matter. We have it right here. And why did this become a cornerstone?
Well, if I wanted to know what your profession was, I'd ask you, what's your mystery? It wasn't until years later that these two words actually took on different meanings. And what happened is that there were, at the time that this word was being used interchangeably, there was something called a mystery play.
Mystery plays.
Yes, plays.
You're getting into You're getting into a fascinating part of your book. It is my favorite part of the book. I love it. We are getting into theatrics, morality plays, mystery plays. So go ahead, Coach.
Well, there's much more to explain here. I'm going to nutshell it because I don't want to give away too much. Mystery plays are plays that were put on by the mystery guilds, which is another way of saying the occupational guilds. Mm-hmm. Guilds like blacksmiths, tailors, bakers, and yes, even stonecrafters. At one time, the occupational or mystery guilds put on plays for the general public.
Why did they do this?
Well, that's a great question, Fred. And to get to the answer, you need to understand that religious institutions at that time used plays to educate the public. Over the years, the guilds took over the task and eventually used these plays for product and service placement. All under the guise of educating the public, sort of like a medieval marketing effort. Eventually, if you were actually involved in putting these mystery plays on, you would become extremely astute at these theatrical efforts. And you just could not help but become a very good actor.
So how did these discoveries lead you to write the Craft Unmasked?
Well, things simply did not match up, as I had said before.
How so?
Well, as a business coach, I've been trained to evaluate organizations and the systems they employ. When I evaluated our organization, when I took what we claimed we do and examined where we said we got all our stuff from, I matched that up to what we actually do and the results we actually get. I soon realized that I had been seeing the organization through some unexamined, uncontested, and assumed preconceived notions that had no bearing on reality. I also realized that, there's a lot of brothers have become disillusioned and they would leave.
Why did they become disillusioned and leave?
Well, they leave because they came to realize that they were not, we are not what we appear to be, and that they'll never get what it is that they came to receive.
So what are the reasons?
Well, there are several, and this is not an exhaustive list, mind you. They didn't want to run the gym. They wanted to work out. They weren't getting what they thought they would be getting. They expected something different.
And what were they expecting?
Well, intellectual and spiritual stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
And did they get that?
Well, from what I'm told, the majority don't.
Well, if they don't get that, what do they get?
Well, at best, they receive instructions that involves memorization and giving back unexplained scripts and choreography that no one understands. And once they do this, they are expected to get excited about giving back, and this is by being involved in lodge activities that essentially focus about bringing new members in who are subjected to the very same unexplained training. There's usually nothing that is offered other than running the gym.
Wow, that's Freemasonry. That's Freemasonic stuff. Now let's get into Masonry, Coach.
Well, unfortunately, there's nothing offered that focuses upon renewing interest. They don't review the map, what the map points out to, and making sure that the member can both read and follow the map. I mean, we install it and we have them act it out, but we never really do explain it. There's nothing in place to assure that members are using that map to travel either. Once members go through the plays, if they don't get involved in putting them on, they're left out of the lodge's focus. They sense it too. They realize there's nothing more for them. The lodges don't.
What is the focus? What is the focus?
Oh, to put on the morality plays.
Morality plays?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling us we're doing?
Yes, we're putting on morality plays. The scripts that we follow that we call ritual or morality plays. They take place in an arena-style stage. They have one or more patrons that pay for it, and in turn experiences it through total immersion, live action, role-playing, and they all have an opportunity to commit to bettering themselves 3 times over. And that is just at the Blue Lodge level.
Theater. Are we theater?
Okay, so shall I now cut to the chasing?
I can't wait. Go, go, go.
Let me feed it to you slowly, Fred, because it can be very overwhelming.
Okay, slowly.
Okay, Freemasonic organizations, as they are currently manifested in the USA, they're franchise modeled. They're total immersion, they're live action, role-playing theatrical societies with a moral purpose that uses scripts based upon the co-opted and modified lexicon, symbols, and lore of medieval stonecrafters, and of course other historical references.
Are you really saying that we're actors?
Yes, exactly that, except I have to add that we are actors with a moral purpose, and I am not saying this without Freemasonic backing.
What?
Yeah. Not only do our Freemasonic training and behaviors reflect this, but our Freemasonic scripts proclaim this and do so several times and in several different ways.
And
Can you provide some examples of that?
Sure. Let me quote it. The first or entered apprentice degree of Freemasonry is intended symbolically to represent the entrance of a man into the world in which he is afterwards to become a living and thinking actor. Here's another one. You are not compelled, you are not to compel any brother to act contrary to his inclinations. And let me give you one more. In the character of a master mason, you are not authorized to correct the errors or irregularities of your uninformed brethren and to guard them against a breach of fidelity.
Wow, this sounds like not only something that I can apply to my Masonic life, but something that I can apply to people that are not Masons in my everyday work and social life.
To be a good man is to follow a script that is written by the heart, man. It doesn't get any simpler. And what happens with Freemasonry is we've got a wonderfully written script. Brother, I've got to tell you, and sister too, we have an organization that allows king and commoner to come together, to drop the facade of outside life and to don the mask of Masons, to accept the role with joy in our hearts and to come together in unity. Where do you see that kind of harmony elsewhere?
In your book, readers out there and potential readers, you will find a lot more on the history of these plays and how all this theatric came into Masonry, or how Freemasonry came from all the theatrics. And you also find what the coach was expanding on here, critiques of the organization, that, you know, why members are leaving, what they're not finding in it. Yet you find a profound respect for the traditions, for the morality, for the lessons. And so it is a critique of a concerned member that has really internalized the lessons himself, as is evident from the writings. And so I really recommend all of it, but especially the part on the theatrical traditions, which you date back to when, Coach? Can you tell us about the origins of these theatrical traditions?
Yes, I could, but I'm not going to go there.
Okay, we're going to leave a little.
That is one of the most profound aspects of where our profession actually originated, how it came into being, how one man basically did something different, and it transformed the face of religion and society, and how organizations go about enculturating their members and their staff. And by the way, it does talk about the goat.
But,
yes.
Coach, there may be something that you can say further on the subject, because I don't have the exact quote, but somewhere I read, I've read so much of your stuff that, you know, it's all floating around in the brain here. But
yeah, imagine me. I've got something like 12 books I've written, and I've got 12 more I haven't published yet. It's a blur.
Okay, but here's something meaty for me. You said paraphrasing you, that stonecraft really has nothing to do with masonry. Explain that.
I'm sorry, that doesn't sound like something that I would write. If you're saying that stonecraft has nothing to do with Freemasonry,
Right. Stonecraft has nothing to do with Freemasonry. I think that was it.
Are you saying by itself? Because he did write that without a foundation in classical literature, scripture, and related materials, there is little likelihood that anyone would appreciate what the society has to offer. Like maybe you mean just by itself, Fred? I'm not sure.
Well, I thought that maybe he was making the point that the building guilds didn't make Freemasonry.
Yes.
They don't have, there isn't that connection there.
Yes.
Okay.
We as an organization took the lore, the symbols, the lexicon, co-opted and modified it, and created basically scripts to put on morality plays. Again, to implore members to commit themselves to becoming better men, becoming more moral, making better decisions. The difference between what the Stonecraft guilds were doing and what it is that we are doing as an organization is night and day.
I see your point.
Okay, before we go, can we have a little, Elena, can we have a little music from the coach?
I hope we can.
Okay, coach, you're on.
Oh, Lord, you want me to bring the whistle into it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm only going to play a very short snippet. Okay. And hopefully the microphone setup will not clip it.
And there we have the multi-talented Dr. John Coach Nagy. As we end now, I think I'd like to have you say a few words about, I hear you have a new book coming out and your January speaking schedule in Indiana, isn't it? Can you say words about those two things?
Indiana, I've been asked to come up and do a talk on mentorship. It'll be about anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes long, between 11 o'clock their time to approximately a quarter till. It's on Founders Day that this is taking place, the 14th of January. It's next Saturday. And about 3 o'clock, I will be also right across the street at the Lodge of Research, doing a talk on the Craft Unmasked. And that's what's upcoming. As far as a book that has recently come out, it was called The Journeyman Papers. And if you like symbology and you like looking at allegory, I've got to tell you, this is a trip. It's not put out there as a Freemasonic book, but I can tell you, if you're a Freemason and you are into discovery and tunneling in and chasing metaphorical rabbits, this book is a trip.
Well, good luck on those events. Thank you very much for coming. We apologize again for our technical difficulties. This being our very first live show. We promise you we can only get better at it. And I would suggest that in the future we would like to have the coach back again, but this time,
great. That would be awesome.
Without any difficulties, we promise you that. We would love to have you on, and we will talk to you after we get off the air, and certainly handle the details of that, and we'll let you know in the future. And we cannot thank you enough for this conversation, Coach. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It was an honor and a privilege. I appreciate everything that you did to bring this to light and to our brothers and sisters out there. And I do very much look forward to doing this again. Hopefully we'll have ironed out all the bugs next time, and it'll be a little bit smoother.
Oh, yes. We promise you that one. You have our word. And thank you, everybody. That's all we have for you this time.
And this is Frederic L. Milliken.
And Elana Llamas.
Parting on the square.
Saying goodbye.
And parting on the square.
Pots.
You've been listening to a Brother Asks and Building Better Builders video education series production.